All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Rocky Series podcast, Going the Distance. I have with me a special guest, Simon Whitehouse. He won't be on camera, not because he's not handsome. It's just he wasn't ready, wasn't ready for camera, which is totally fine. But we'll get to hear him. So, Simon, say hi to everybody.
How you doing, guys?
So, Simon, thank you for coming on the show today and speaking with me today. My brother Ruben, he co-hosts with me, but he's traveling on the road today, so it'll just be me and you.
Yeah.
But we got a lot to talk about. If I go all over the place, it's only because I'm not a professional, so I apologize for that.
Me too. I'm not so professional at this either.
Okay, well, good. So we got two non-professionals. That's perfect. So, Simon, first say where you're from.
Well, I'm calling now from London in the UK, but originally I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, which is near Manchester in the north of England.
Okay, so for us non-UK people, basically you're from England. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrible, I know, because I mean, it's like saying I'm from Canada, but it's a big country, and I'm not really just from Canada, but I'm from Victoria, British Columbia. I don't know if you are familiar with that part of the country.
I'm not actually, no. I've been to a couple of places in Canada, but never that one.
Oh, yeah, so Victoria, British Columbia is as far west as you can go.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. No, I've only been
I'm above. Go ahead.
No, Toronto, Montreal. Yeah, Toronto, Montreal. That's it in Canada. Yeah.
Okay, so near the eastern part. Okay,
yeah.
Makes sense. A lot of people, for a lot of people who visit Canada from outside the country, it seems to be, they'll fly into Toronto, that's the big hub there, Montreal, that area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I've never been to the UK. One day I would love to go there. We have a lot of listeners from there. So it seems like Rocky touches the hearts and minds of people from England as well, it seems.
Well, it does, right? I mean, it's an iconic film. It touches people from all over the world, I think.
So tell us, if you don't mind, I always ask my guests what their age is, so it kind of puts in context of, what the Rocky journey was for you. So do you mind saying how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 40. Yeah, it's going to be my birthday next month. I'm going to be 41.
All right, we're the same age. I'm 41 right now.
Excellent.
All right, so we probably have a very similar Stallone upbringing in our life.
That's it. No, like you have these like fond memories of watching movies with your family when you're younger, when you're a kid, when you're 5 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. So it's intrinsic in your childhood and your teenage years, right?
Absolutely. So what was your first Rocky memory? What was the first movie you remember watching of the Rocky series?
Remember probably number one. Got to be probably. And then you know what? It's that far away. It's that like long ago. I wouldn't know which one was first memory. Because they're also iconic, aren't they? But I just like my first memories of it are just watching it with my brother. My brother is 3 years older than me. And we used to sit for hours watching movies and playing and these things. And we used to watch Rocky, and we used to watch Star Wars, and we used to watch Indiana Jones, and Back to the Future, and all those films that are out in the late 70s and 80s. And we used to watch Rocky, and we used to play fight, and we used to watch pretending that we're Rocky or Apollo Creed or Clubber Lang or even Drago, and I think they were my earliest memories.
Yeah, it really was the golden age of movies. I think I know people always say that, but I think we had a special time as kids. I try to tell this to my kids, like we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have like this instant gratification, like getting movies at home or going to the theater. Like going to the movie theater was like an event. It was a real event.
It really was, exactly. And you'd go with your mom and dad. You'd go on a Sunday afternoon or on the weekend, and it made it more special because it was something that you really did and enjoyed with your family.
Right.
It wasn't like a YouTube individual thing that you can watch on your commute to work with your headphones. It wasn't like that. It's true what you say. It wasn't like accessible like that, was it? More like movies were a communal thing that you did with your family, I suppose.
Absolutely, it was a family event. And the Rocky movies, you're probably like me. I saw Rocky 3 on in the theater. Of course, I was too young to see Rocky 2 in the theaters. Do you remember which Rocky you saw in the theaters for the first time?
Oof, now that's a question. I think I saw Rocky 4. I think so.
I would assume you
But
probably saw Rocky 4,
I
at least
think
that one
Rocky
in the
4,
theater.
yeah. I may have seen Rocky 3 as well. But I don't, I don't have a vivid memory of watching it at the cinema.
Okay.
I don't. I just have these memories of like watching it on video, like we used to have Betamax. Remember Betamax?
Oh yeah, well Beta, the Beta
Yeah,
was actually a better quality film than
yeah.
VHS.
Even before, yeah, even before VHS, we used to have a Betamax video. So we used to have these things. We used to like fast forward it and rewind it, and like, wow, we sound so old now.
Well, it's funny. I remember the first time I saw a VCR. I was in second grade. I was probably about 8 years old, and my friend, I remember his name. His name was Stephen Bates, and he had a VCR, and I couldn't believe that he could put in a movie and watch it whenever he wanted. The idea just blew me away.
Mm,
And
mm.
the movies back then, I don't know what they were in pounds. I know your pounds are different than our dollar, but I remember VHS movies like E.T. And when they first came out, they were $99 for a VHS tape back then.
Yeah, expensive.
Can you imagine that kind of pricing now? You couldn't even give
Mm,
those things away.
yeah,
But
well, people just wouldn't accept it.
no, but the idea that
Mm,
was just it back then. Like, oh, think of all the money you're saving by watching this movie repeatedly at home. And
mm,
uh, and then I remember even further, like I didn't get our first VCR until I was 14. Like
mm,
we just never had one. And I remember again when I was young, my friend recorded TV, and I didn't even know you could record TV on these things. I thought they could just play movies. And he was fast forwarding commercials, and he was like, "Look what I can do with my TV! I can fast forward commercials." And I thought it was a trick.
mm, mm, mm.
So yeah, I guess we are aging ourselves a
And
little
then
bit.
you'd fast forward it, and then sometimes the tape would get all caught up in the VCR. You
Right.
remember that?
Oh, yes,
And then
the
you'd have to get a
tracking.
little spoon. You'd have to get like a spoon or a knife or something, and wiggle the tape around, get it all cleaned
Yeah, there are the kids of today don't know the struggles that we had.
up.
So you had a close relationship with your brother, is what I understand.
Yeah, when we were younger, like most siblings. I mean, we were lucky, really. We had a great mum and dad, and
Hmm.
they we didn't have a lot of money, but we got pretty much everything that we could have in life, and it was happy. And yeah, and we used to just play. We play soccer, and we watch movies, and do whatever, do what siblings do. And then sometimes we used to play fight. We used to play fight. With Rocky, we had boxing gloves. We had one pair of boxing gloves, and so one of us had have one glove. We put the other arm behind the back, and uh, fight one armed, play fighting with these boxing gloves. So yeah, we were tied. We had a good healthy relationship. He was my older brother, wasn't he? It's like we
Yep.
both looked up to our dad, and me, I looked up to both of them. Dad was like the ultimate superhero, but my
Right.
brother was my idol as well. Mm.
That's really cool. I had three brothers growing up, one younger, two older, so I know what that
So
bond of
you
brotherhood is like. Absolutely.
you were in the middle. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when you're young, like I don't know. I don't know any other different experience. When you're the youngest one,
Right.
all you do throughout your life is look up. Until you become an adult, and then it all kind of levels out. But
Right.
when you're a kid, and when you're a young kid, and then when you're going into your teenage years, then you always look up to your elder, in my case, brother,
Hmm.
and parents. That's what you do. You mimic them. You want to be like them. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I this sounds terrible. I don't know if I ever looked up to my brothers in that way. I shouldn't say that I didn't, but I like I always loved my brothers. So I mean, it's the same thing. I always like brothers. they're the only people that can, drive you crazy, and they would tease you mercilessly. But if anyone else got under them or with them, you're the first offender. You're like, hey,
Exactly.
only I can call them names.
Exactly.
You don't get to call them names.
Exactly. It's a
So
weird bond. It's a weird feeling, isn't it?
It's yeah, it truly is, and it's been a real joy doing this podcast actually with my younger brother, Ruben. He's So to this day we have a good relationship with my brothers and their families.
What's the age difference?
Well, he's 2 years younger than me, and then I have a brother who's 2 years older than me, and then my oldest brother is 6 years older than me.
Mm.
So the one that's 6 years older, he, not his fault, but I would say he's the one that I would say least closest to. Was just because we didn't, when I was already 6 years old, which is very young. He was already 12 and didn't want anything to do with a 6-year-old brother type thing. It's
yeah.
He had older friends.
At that age, it's a big difference.
It is. It really is. And so we've become closer in our adult years than we were growing up. He was always just the older brother who I never really saw very much type thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit now about your brother, because this kind of ties in obviously with what we're going to be talking about. I don't know how much you want to share, but let's first talk about what you're doing. You're going to run a marathon, and it's 100 miles, and it's going to be from New York to the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia. And why don't you tell everyone what the purpose of this run is, and what it is you're doing with this marathon?
Well, yeah, it's an ultra marathon, which is an ultra marathon is any distance above the regular 26.2 mile marathon distance. And so the distance from New York, if you Google it, from New York to Philadelphia is pretty much 100 miles exactly, which is like, it's like 4 continuous marathons, which is a lot, and the weird thing is, like, it's not a linear equation, like you do one marathon, and then, that's difficult for any human to do, one marathon. Pretty much everybody who does a marathon is pretty tired after that. So then when you've done that, then you just keep going. So the second marathon is like double difficult, so then when you've done 2, you're destroyed. And then to go into the third one just like nonstop, then that's like, I don't know, 5 times as difficult to do one marathon, if you understand. So when it gets to the last like quarter of it, it's like the culmination of doing 3 marathons and then having no sleep and being running all the way through the night, and the light comes up again and it's dawn, and you think, I gotta do another marathon. This is like, it's like, I don't know, 20 times as difficult. So it's a kind of a wretched kind of thing to do. So yeah, but that's it. It's a 100-mile nonstop like thing.
It's absolutely crazy. Now, you've done this before, have you not?
Yeah, I did it the first time 4 years ago. It was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, I do it. It was weird. Like it was like Christmas time of 2012, and like I was living in Milan in Italy at the time, and just before Christmas, I was like had lunch with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the year, what had just been, and we were talking about Christmas and talking about the next year, and like New Year's resolutions and things, and I said I don't do any New Year's resolutions and things like that, but just maybe next year I want to do some things that are kind of on the bucket list, and as cheesy as it sounds, I want to do like Machu Picchu and the Grand Canyon and Great Wall of China, and I've always wanted to go to the Rocky Steps. I used to watch it with my dad and with my brother, and I've always wanted to do it, and I didn't really think much of it. And then the next week I was at home at Christmas with my mom, It was just me and my mom in like I was in the lounge, whatever, watching TV, and she was like shouting. She was cooking and shouting at me from the kitchen, and she was like, it's our Stephen's birthday this year, and at the same time, I was Googling, and I was trying to plan out the year of when I was going to do some of these things, and I was Googling. I work in the fashion business, and in February there's always like sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, I work in the fashion business, and in February it's always the fashion week. So I was thinking, I was Googling the distance between New York and Philadelphia, thinking, maybe I'll get a train to go to the Rocky Steps and at least do the steps and take a cheesy photo and tick it off the bucket list,
Right.
And I was Googling in it, and at the same time, my mum was shouting, it's our Stephen's birthday, and it's a big one. He's going to be 40 years old. We should do something special for him. And I was Googling the distance on Google Maps. It said the distance was like 95.8 miles. And for some weird reason, I have no idea, but I thought to myself, I could run that.
Well, that's a weird thought.
and it just really stuck with me, and when she was saying it, and she was like, it's a big one, we should do something special for him because he's going to be 40 years old. It just kind of like came together, and some kind of like flash of inspiration, because like Christmas time is really special for us. Like our dad died just over 10 years ago now. So Christmas time is super special because it's probably, I only see my brother once or twice a year now, and it's guaranteed always we'll see each other at Christmas, because when he was 20, he had a breakdown, he had a mental breakdown. So when my mum was saying this, and when I was doing it, I just, something came from it. And once I got the idea, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna run that, and I'll do it for my mom, and I'll do it for my brother. I'll do it, for the dream of as crazy as it sounds, being Rocky, and with the soundtrack and the whole thing, and just
right.
Me and my brother, we used to dream of doing that when we were kids. We used to mimic that out, running up the steps and jumping up, and it just came as an inspiration to do. And so, I started, and this was back in 2013. I started writing a blog about it. I didn't tell anybody. I started running, and I'd never done a half marathon at that point. But I was a decent runner, let's say, even though I was a little bit overweight and still am. And so, yeah, I started this like blog of what it would actually take. I didn't even know it was possible to run for 100 miles. So I started this blog called Simon's Rocky Road, but didn't share it with anybody for like a month, because I didn't want to be like embarrassed about it in case I got injured or couldn't do it. And I started to blog like all the things, like I was training, but I was just running. I had no clue what I was doing, basically.
Right.
And then I started asking people, like, people who would run marathons. And then somebody told me, well, that's an ultra marathon. I was like, what's an ultra marathon? And they were like, well, okay, that's like distances of 50 kilometers, 50 miles, 75 kilometers, 75 miles, 100 miles, 100 kilometers, and then so I went on Amazon and I bought like 10 books on ultra marathons and started reading about these guys who run for 100 miles and 150 miles. And I was amazed. I didn't even think, I didn't think it was possible for a human to do that. And like most of them like are vegans, they're super skinny, and they have really like super healthy lifestyle. A lot of them live on the West Coast, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's that kind of like, mentality to it.
Sure.
And I just became obsessed, and it just like I'm a very like I get something in my mind and it goes around on repeat, like on a loop in my mind, and I just became completely obsessed with it. And I became actually quite scared about it, because the more I read about it, the more like I realized that how dangerous it could be. And I'd given myself 3 months to do it, because I wanted to do it on my brother's birthday and actually finish on the steps when he was 40 years old, for his 40th birthday.
Right.
So I did this blog and did this training. I went vegan for 3 months. I got totally obsessed with it. I lost, I don't know, 30 pounds in weight. And then did it, like, and I did it for a charity, which is called Mind. It's the UK's largest mental health charity, which actually, they help my brother and thousands of other people in the UK that have mental health issues. And so, yeah, I did it for the first time in 2013. And then I went back again last year.
Okay.
I did it last year. And so
You ran it, you've ran it twice already?
Yeah. This will be the third time now.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
So
I've got I want to
when you're
raise
done
$1
this,
million.
sorry, when you're done this, that will be the third ultra marathon.
Yeah, I've done 4, but this will be the third to the Rocky Steps. I did another one in the UK, and these are not organized like races. This is like just me.
Right. No, that's
like,
amazing. Yeah,
it's
right.
just,
You don't have any sponsors. Is there anyone? Well, we'll get to the details, but sorry, you said how much have you raised so far?
so far in total, like online and offline, like donations, it's like almost $50,000 so far.
That's awesome.
Which, just for some guy doing it in his spare time, when I've got a very busy job, anyway, it's not so bad, but I want to raise $1 million for this charity. And I'm going to do it no matter how long that takes. I'm going to do it. It's just a question of how many of these god awful runs that I've got to do in order to get to that objective.
So this the money that you're raising, it goes towards the Mind.
Yeah, it's a charity called Mind, which is the UK's largest mental health charity. I think,
And they're aware that you're doing this, of course.
Yeah, I work with them. I blog for them, and
okay,
they support me, and I support them now. So I've got a very good relationship with Mind, because me too. Also, I live with depression. Since our father died, I had these bouts of depression, and I still live with depression. So like mental health has affected both my brother and myself, but to different degrees and kind of like different subjects. My brother, he lives with a mild form of schizophrenia, which means he can't really work and these things.
right.
Whereas I can, and sometimes actually, depression actually gives you more, like obsessive behavior to actually excel in what you do in work. There's many people who live with, who do or have lived with depression, and who do incredible, tremendous things. Winston
Right.
Churchill is one of the most famous ones.
Yeah, he did a few good things.
Yeah. So I'm very proud to work with this charity, and they help thousands and thousands of people. It's mental health is one of the last really remaining stigmas that people are not comfortable to really talk about.
Right.
And the Mind charity do an awful lot of work to break down those barriers and break down those walls.
Yeah, I really can not only applaud you, but I totally agree with you. I will say that I'm currently receiving therapy for my own mental health issues, and
Really?
yes, that's one reason why I was really excited to talk to you. Was it's thankfully, I haven't had anything. Well, severe. Well, so like anything, you can sprain an ankle, you can break an ankle, right?
Yep.
I haven't broken my ankle, so to speak, but I would say I have what's called a sprained mental health issue, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing somebody, and for mild anxiety and mild depression, and it's been wonderful to get that treatment, to get that help. And I'm actually in the Navy here in Canada, and so the Navy is also working toward, well, the Canadian Army and Navy here is also working towards breaking down that stigma. You know, we allow people to, oh, I have a broken leg or I have a broken arm, and everyone just goes, oh, great, get better and get well. But if you say, hey, I have anxiety or I have depression, people are like, well, man up, or what's your problem?
Exactly.
And it doesn't work that way. And part of the problem is people don't admit to themselves that they might need some help, and it's okay to get that. That's what therapy is. Therapy is to give you tools and exercise programs, and for your head is a muscle, and it needs
Exactly.
it needs that exercise.
Exactly. And you know what? We're human beings.
Yes.
So we're not robots. Like we're all human beings, and we all have feelings, and we all operate in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
We're animals,
Right.
basically,
Yes.
but we have intelligence that separates us from, doing what animals do and having the sense to, restrict ourselves and these things. But ultimately, as human beings, we're all susceptible, to go through different traumas in life.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own instinct. This is like the will of which we were born with. But then as we go through life, we're a culmination of our experiences, aren't we?
Yes.
And we all go through different experiences and different traumas. Some are more gentle, some are more vicious. And all of that has a weight on how much a person's mind can take and can cope with. And you know what? We're all a bit mad.
Yeah.
We're
Of
all
course.
we're
Yes, we
all
are.
a little bit crazy in
And
our own little way.
it's only the sane ones, like maybe the sane ones like me and you, that can say, hey, what? I am a little bit, I need some help. It's okay.
Mm,
I think it's more insane to say, no, I'm good. I don't need help. And that causes more issues. It's like, again, running on a
yeah,
broken ankle when you're saying, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. But before you know it, that ankle will never
that's
heal.
right. And the more that people talk about it, and the more that it's the more that it's acceptable to know that you're not okay, and
Mm-hmm.
that that you need to talk to somebody, or you need to reach out, or maybe at its worst case you might need medication. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but the more that the like the stigma is broken down, then that's got to be beneficial for everybody, right? You
Absolutely.
know, suicide is one of the biggest causes of death
Mm-hmm.
in men the world over. I think it's the
Mm-hmm.
number one cause of death
I
in the
believe it.
world between the ages of 18 and 24 in young men.
Mm-hmm. I
You
believe it.
know,
Yeah, it's a very tumultuous time in a men's life. So I can totally see that. Yeah. I
mm,
started a family during that age group, if you can believe it, and survived. And
mm,
survived. So yeah, maybe that's kind of the residue I'm dealing with now. Anxiety has been a part of my life for a long, long time, and I'm just learning last 5 months. Actually, I've only just started 5 months ago, just learning about myself and learning what anxiety has done to me. And I'm really grateful for people that have studied in these fields that can help us out. And I'm also grateful to the military to provide me that care.
mm,
It doesn't cost me money. So I'm very, that's one of the benefits of being in the military. They provide the care that you need to get out of that funk.
mm, mm, mm.
Now let's, before we close up, I actually want to get a couple details here about, I think people might be interested in how so you run for 100 miles nonstop, whether you're walking or running. You're like Stallone says, you keep
Yes,
moving forward.
yes,
You keep
yes,
moving
exactly.
forward.
Yeah,
So people are going to ask, how do you eat? How do you do your bodily functions? What happens?
okay, yeah, no. So like, there's I have 2, 3 friends that come along, and like a little support crew. So like I say, this is not an organized thing. This is literally like we put in the Google Maps on the iPhone, like for the route, we put like walk to the Rocky Steps from New York.
Right.
So, and then so like every 5-7 miles or so, we say, okay, well, let's meet at that point, put it in, and then they drive the car. Sometimes they might run with me as well, but I don't know. For the most part, I'm running alone.
Right.
And then I meet them in 5-7 miles. Take some extra water, take some food, and just eat, and then just keep going. And well, for bodily functions, if you need to go, you need to go, and then otherwise you just keep moving.
Well, I'm. This sounds terrible, but I'm curious about that. I mean, I get you can grab a granola bar or an apple and keep eating while you're walking. I know you have to physically stop moving to use, uh, but
Well, you don't. You just it's like you can eat while you're running. You can eat
no.
while
But
you're
I mean,
moving.
for the bathroom breaks, you have to physically
Oh,
stop.
for that, yeah, of course you got to stop. Yeah, for that you got to stop. And
Or
for the food as well. You stop and you do when your body goes, because it takes me, because I'm not very fit. Like I'm not really, I'm not even a runner. I'm still overweight, and it takes me like anywhere between 30 and 36 hours to do it. That's a long time. So
well,
like the nutrition
yeah.
is super important.
Don't beat yourself up. I mean, this is your fourth 100-mile ultra marathon, and I get it. You're saying you're not in Stallone shape, or you're not in Lance Armstrong shape, or whatever these marathon guys are like. But don't beat yourself up. I mean, this is you're doing it. I've never run 100 miles at once and not stop moving. The fact that you could almost argue because you're average, you could say that you're doing this anyways. And that, to me, I almost find that more inspirational, that you're just somebody who has a job that's just living life. And you know what? I'm doing this. I'm raising awareness and I'm taking care of this. And it's almost more impressive that you're not a professional athlete. Like, you're just a person who's going 100 miles nonstop. I don't think anyone's gonna look
It's
at
pretty mental, huh? You don't meet many people who've run for 100 miles. I've never met anybody since,
well,
except for a friend of mine who does it sometimes. Like he did half of the first one with me, Mike. I gotta mention Mike, Marathon Mike. He's like a brother to me now.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I don't know any. I've never met anybody else that has run for 100 miles.
No, I've never
And you
met
know
anyone
what?
except for
Having
you
done
now.
it, I wouldn't recommend it as well. It's
No.
you go to some really weird places in your mind. It's like after 50 miles or so, you've been doing 12 hours, 14 hours, and then the night kicks in, and
That's
then it's
crazy.
suddenly the dead of the night, and you're just running, and you put the headlamp on, and then it just goes pitch black, and then you're just running still.
And
It's mad. It's mad.
these friends that are following you, I guess they're in a car or something, or a truck,
They're in the
or
car. Yeah, we have like a little car, like a little van or something, and they go to the next meeting point. Because
they just wait for you.
they just wait. Yeah. So for them, it's kind of boring, because they can't just follow you going slow. They
Right.
just wait in 7 miles, because you try and go on the trails as well. So it's easier on the knees and the ankles. Like the less running that you do on the pavements, the better it is for your feet and your ankles, because your feet, that the last time I did it, it was like, you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes you get blisters, sometimes you don't. Sometimes your toenails fall off.
Ugh.
Sometimes it's
Jeez.
really disgusting. And the last time, what happened? I got like in the kind of crotch area, at the top of the thighs, like
Yep. I
just
get that running 4 miles. I can only imagine
yeah, a
100 miles.
soreness. Like literally after about 60 miles, it was like swollen blisters that then started bleeding.
Ugh.
It was like I couldn't even. It was kind of painful.
Now, are
you
you
just
gonna?
don't you don't know what, but you just have to crack on.
Yeah. Are you gonna put some bandages or something there, or some sort of anti
You use
chafing
Vaseline.
stuff?
You do all the Vaseline and all the chafing, but you don't know. Sometimes it can affect different.
Right.
Depends what you're wearing. Just all the who knows. But in order to run 100 miles, what's in your mind already is this is going to hurt. Like you don't know what it is, but you're going to go through a lot of pain. You know, like we've gone through hypothermia and hallucinations and
Jeez, what are some hallucinations you've
social.
had in the past? What are some things you hallucinated on?
Yeah, like the first one, like one where like there was just loads of rabbits. You know, I've seen all these rabbits running around, and then like because on the trail in the middle of the night where it's pitch black, then you started seeing like the trees were like old women, you know, and
Wow.
their arms were up where the branches were. It was really weird, super weird. Not in a scary way, but it sounds scary, but it wasn't even scary. It was just like, oh, that's a bit weird. And your mind just starts going in so many different directions.
Well, yeah, because I've worked, I have been in the Navy, and before I joined the Navy, I've had lack of sleep just from doing night work, scheduling, things like that. I've gone like a couple hours sleep in just, 36-hour period. And I can only imagine what your body's going through, because now it has a lack of sleep in combination
Yeah,
of your,
that's it.
and like
Total
you said,
exhaustion, complete
yeah,
exhaustion.
because you're tired on top of you can be, yeah, you're tired and you're tired. And
Mm.
this is exponentially, because you talked about, for those who maybe didn't catch it, what you're doing 3 marathons, one after another,
Four,
together, four
four. Yeah,
four marathons in a
yeah.
row together, and
Continuous.
that exponential tiredness. I have twins, for example. My last 2 kids are twins, and I had kids before I had them, so I know what it's like to raise a baby, right?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
So, but the twins, it's not just having 2 babies.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's exponentially harder to have
Yeah.
2 toddlers at the same time. And
It's not a
so,
linear equation. Yeah.
no, it's not linear at all. You
It
think
gets more, the more kids you have, the more difficult it is.
that's
Exactly. That's
exactly
exactly
so.
what it's like.
So my whole life's a marathon. I get it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's an ultra. If you got more kids, it's an ultra marathon.
because that's exactly what. Like, I remember when we had our first kid, I'm like, oh, this is easy, and then you get the second one, you're like, oh, it's not doubly hard, it's exponentially hard, and then you throw twins in the mix, yeah, then you're on that fourth, you're on that fourth
That's
quarter
it.
of a marathon, ultra marathon. So,
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
so with the fundraising that you're doing, it will continue. It's a continuous thing. It doesn't
I'm
stop
gonna
because.
keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it until I've raised $1 million.
Okay,
So
wow.
I want everybody's support. I don't care who. Like I want everybody's support, just to donate, even if it's $1 or $5 or $100. I
Okay,
want just as much support as possible, and I'm gonna keep doing it until I raise $1 million. If I raise $1 million in 6 weeks' time, amazing. Like we've already raised $50,000 already. But if I've got to run another for the next 10 years, 15 years, I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm going to raise $1 million.
I love it.
Fact. Done.
I
In
love
my
it.
mind, it's already done. It's
Wow.
already done. I don't care how long it takes. And for me, this is the attitude that, in life, you run a marathon or you run an ultra marathon. You can't do that unless in your mind you've already done it. You know, you can't you can't do something like that when you know that it's going to give so much pain
Hmm.
without actually, visualizing the fact that you've already done it, and in the mind it's already done. And for me, it's a really beautiful metaphor for life. It's a really beautiful metaphor for life. No matter, we all go through shit. We all go through problems,
Hmm.
and what are you going to do? You're gonna cry about it. You're gonna complain. You're gonna blame other people, or are you just going to crack on, get on with it? That's
Keep
what
moving forward.
that's it. And that's, all these rocky quotes. It's amazing. And it's such a great film, such an iconic film. It's cheesy in a way, but
Sure.
in another way, it's just like the most incredibly inspiring film, and one of the most incredibly inspiring characters of the movie industry, right?
Well, I'm inspired by you, and truly, I mean, you're going to keep doing this till you raise a million. Like, how often are you going to do the ultra marathon again? Like,
Every
what's
year,
your?
every year, every
Or you do this
April.
every year?
Yeah, when it's my brother's birthday.
Oh, okay. Holy smokers!
Yeah.
I had no idea before this interview you're doing this yearly. That's
I'm gonna do it until I raise $1 million. I'm gonna do it on my brother's birthday because you know what? Like he was viciously taken away from me. He was
mm,
viciously taken away from my mother, and you know, it probably is never going to come back to us in the way that he was before. You know,
right.
but as long as life is there, as long as we're still alive, and as long as we're still breathing, there's a chance. There's a small chance, you know, even if it's 0.5% chance that somebody out there listening to this or seeing what I do and seeing what we do, it can help us. So for me, that's worth taking that chance. And the worst case scenario is I'm going to raise a ton of money for the charity that supports my brother and supports people like my brother and also people like me, you know, who go through their own mental health issues.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking. I'm close to tears here. I really am. I'm just blown away. One, by your love for your brother. That's I can relate, and I I'm just introspecting my own life into what you're talking about the love I have for my brothers and what would I do for them, and the love for you have for your brother and what you're doing for him. Just for it's it's
What I think is, you know, there was a series of very traumatic events
mhm,
that make anybody, not only my brother, but make anybody go through, you know, a mental breakdown. So, conversely, maybe actually a series of very traumatic events could actually bring them back.
wow.
Why
That's
not?
that's powerful. That truly is powerful. Um, so where can people follow this and where can they donate?
Oh, the donut, yeah. So in the UK, we have this thing called Just Giving. So it's justgiving.com
Mhm.
forward slash Simon's Rocky Road. Or you can just Google Simon's Rocky Road. So, and
Right.
then there's tons of like, it's on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And
Okay.
uh, yeah,
Right.
Simon's Rocky Road.
I'll put the links out on my I don't have a million listeners. I wish I did because I think, I wish I had a million listeners so I could tell each one of them to give $1 and then you'd have
That's
your
it.
million
Then it's
dollar.
done. Yeah, then it's done. I don't need to
Uh,
run myself into the ground anymore.
yeah, please. So let's get. I'll put the link out though. I'll put it on my Facebook as well. There's obviously people on my Facebook who don't care about my little hobby podcast, but I think this episode, even if you're not a Rocky fan, this is something that's, I would say it doesn't have anything to do with Rocky, but this is something. But this is about helping humans out, and I'm going to plug this episode in particular on my own personal Facebook as well as my Going the Distance podcast site because I think this is worth helping you out for. Even if they don't even listen to us jibber jabbering, they can read your story.
Oh,
They can read
thank
your
you. I
story.
really appreciate it. Yeah, we need to,
Um,
you know, to do this, we need everybody's support. So
I agree.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I agree. Simon, you've been an inspiration to me, and I got a lot out of this. I hope I can help you as much as I feel you need.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much, and thank you for sharing with me, you know, your own experiences with mental health.
of course.
It takes courage to you know to verbalize that.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I don't like to use hero often, but no, I'm just kidding. I appreciate that. Truly, what you're doing, and my thoughts are for your brother and what he's going through, and your family, and you know, it takes people like you to. Some people might crumble and say, "I give up on life because something's happened to me," but you're taking the bull by the horn, so that's awesome.
That's it. That's it. Okay.
All right,
Thanks so much.
brother. You bet.
Yeah.
We'll
Take
see
it
you
easy.
around.
Yeah. Speak to you soon. Eh?
We're looking forward to hearing your journey, and hopefully you get everything you need, brother.
Thanks so much.
All
Thank
right.
you. Take care. Bye
Take
bye.
care now. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.